Donald Trump wants Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell gone. He's furious, he's public, and he's pushing hard.
On Jerome Powell, you said that the termination of Jerome Powell cannot come fast enough. He says he won't leave even if you ask him to.
Oh, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. But
Do you believe
I don't think he's. I don't think he.
trying to do that?
I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late. Always too late. A little slow.
But here's a twist: Trump can't just fire him. So, what's really going on? What did Powell say? And how did Trump's own policies spark this feud? Let's break it down. US President Donald Trump has taken aim at Jerome Powell yet again. This time he wrote on Truth Social, and I quote, Powell's termination cannot come fast enough. End quote. Trump's post comes days after Powell publicly raised concerns about Trump's sweeping tariffs. Trump, however, thinks the opposite. Oil prices are down, groceries, even eggs, are down, and the USA is getting rich on tariffs. Too late should have lowered interest rates like the ECB long ago, but he should certainly lower them now. He said, let's add some context. Powell was nominated by Trump in 2017. In 2022, Joe Biden appointed him for another 4 year term. That means his current term runs until 2026. Speaking at the Economic Club of Chicago, he voiced clear concerns. He said, and I quote, the level of the tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated. The same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth. End quote. Powell also reiterated that the Fed is independent and apolitical. He said, and I quote, that's the only thing we're ever going to do. We're never going to be influenced by any political pressure. End quote. Our independence is a matter of law, he added. This principle has been crucial since the 1970s after the Fed was widely blamed for enabling inflation by bowing down to Richard Nixon's election pressures. Economists argue an independent Fed is more likely to take tough decisions like raising interest rates to control inflation. Wall Street also prefers a politically insulated Fed. So far, Trump's latest outburst hasn't rattled the stock market. As per BBC, Trump is upset with Powell for keeping interest rates high. Currently, the Fed's benchmark rate stands between 4.2% and 4.50%. Powell has signaled that rates will stay elevated to fight inflation, especially with new tariffs in place. But Trump disagrees. He says, and I quote, we have essentially no inflation, end quote. In reality, inflation peaked at 9% in 2022. It has since come down to 2.4%, close to the Fed's 2% target. The Fed even cut rates 3 times late last year. But Powell and other policymakers are now cautious. Trump's tariffs, including a 10% tax on all imports and a 145% levy on Chinese goods, have introduced uncertainty. Meanwhile, Trump wants to be seen as easing economic pressure. During his campaign, he promised lower interest rates. Ironically, he once accused former Fed Chair Janet Yellen of keeping rates too low. And now, some say Trump's attacks on Powell are just preemptive blame in case his tariff strategy backfires. One Wall Street trader told media, and I quote, if things continue to go down and a deal is not made, he is going to blame the downturn in the market on Jay Powell and say that it was because he didn't cut the rates. End quote. No, not directly. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913 as an independent body. That independence is central to its role. As CNN explains, a Fed chair can only be removed for cause under the Federal Reserve Act. Courts interpret this as misconduct, inefficiency, or malfeasance. And history shows precedent. In Humphrey's Executor versus United States, the Supreme Court blocked President Franklin Roosevelt from firing an FTC commissioner just because he disagreed with New Deal policies. In Powell's own words at the Chicago event, we are not removable except for cause. We serve very long terms, seemingly endless terms. End quote. He has also made it clear that he won't step down just because Trump tells him to. Despite legal limits, Trump hasn't backed off. According to the Wall Street Journal, he has floated the idea of removing Powell in private meetings at Mar-a-Lago. He even spoke to former Fed chief Kevin Warsh about replacing Powell. Warsh, who ran the Fed from 2006 to 2011, advised against it. He reportedly told Trump to let Powell finish his term without interference. Powell has unexpected defenders. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, a frequent critic of Powell, warned that firing him would have devastating consequences. She told the media, and I quote, I have tangled with Powell on a regular basis about both regulations and interest rates. But understand this, if Chairman Powell can be fired by the President of the United States, it will crash markets in the United States. End quote. So what now? Powell is staying put, Trump is ramping up pressure, and the global economy, it's caught in the crossfire of tariffs, interest rates, and presidential politics.